Hey, welcome back. I promise it's the last day I talk about the app stuff. I had another note. I had another two small little notes. That I have to talk about Midnight Mass. I haven't talked about it yet. That'll be today and tomorrow. I'm a jerk. I don't like this thing that comes out of you when you're on these apps. This judgment. Super, like, I've always had a problem with judge, but now I'm like hyper judgmental because I'm like, she's got to be perfect, right? That's what I mentioned a couple days ago. So they have these prompts on the apps. One of them was like, if you could win an award for anything, what would it be? And one of the girls was like, I would win the whitest sneakers Dundee. So that's like an Office reference. I'm like, that's dumb. Yeah, I don't know why I think this way, but I'm like, you can't just... The whole preface of this is like, I'm a bad person, but now I gotta say it. No, you don't. You don't have to say it. I'm gonna say it. I don't like when people just reference stuff. Like, she didn't make a joke. I guess she's not trying to make a joke, but it does seem like she is. She's referencing something funny, but she's not being funny. She's just being like, oh, remember that funny joke in The Office? And I'm like, yeah, I do. It's not funny. Oh, this is the bear one. I gotta pay attention. So I wrote down what I wrote down because I'm funny. And I made a good reference. I don't know. I don't know. I'm scared. What did I write? I'm scared to frame it like this because now I'm saying like, oh, my joke is so funny. What was my joke? What was my prompt? What did I say? Okay, yeah, I remember it now. It's like, what's something you want to know from me? Or it's like, what's something that you want to know from the person that you're going to talk to or something like that? And I was like, well, how do you survive New York, upstate New York in the winter? So there's a direct answer, and now I'm going to make a reference that's kind of like a joke. This is better because I'm a joke expert and I know everything about jokes. I said, I said, like, how to survive an upstate New York winter. I'm imagining it's like that scene in The Day After Tomorrow where they're running away from the cold. I said something like that, and I thought it was funny. I don't know. That's the kind of thing. I don't know. It's bad. It's stupid. It's not funny. I thought it was funny. I did. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was funny, even though I'm not. I remember my brother and me, whatever, always made fun of that part in the movie where they're The Day After Tomorrow, where Jake Gyllenhaal he's running away from the cold. Like, the air is so cold that it's chasing him, and he's gotta run back to the fire. And I'm like, this is so stupid. The cold is chasing him? I guess I've never seen this before, but like the cold is the monster in the movie, and it's like chasing them because it's like about climate change, and like there's this big storm with it's like a snow hurricane thing or something, and it's like the temperature's so cold. I don't know, how would it work if it just got super cold? It wouldn't just like, because what's happening is like they're running away from the cold, and like people behind them are freezing like to death. And there's like a dog chasing them, and it's like freezing. I don't know. So that was the joke. I thought it was funny, but The other small note was like, it's not fair that... Oh, is this the end? I want to do one more. All these girls have so many pictures of themselves that they could pick from. They got 1 million Instagram pictures. And they're like, oh, I really like this one, and I really like this one. I honestly only had like 6 pictures, and I picked like 4 of them. Because 2 of them were horrible. So, like, I don't know. I mean, if you knew that, like, I could take a better picture if I had 1 million pictures. Some of them would be better than this. Like, there was this one picture of this girl that I just swiped on. And she was like, she had this great picture of her, like, laughing and being really happy. And, like, she's, like, so happy that she's, like, oh. And it's really a likable picture. I don't have any pictures like that. You gotta take a picture of me 100 pictures a day to find a picture like that. I mean, I can make that face, and I can be that likable, I'm sure. But it's hard, because I have 3 pictures of me that aren't like over 3 years old or 4 years old in the past couple years. Even though I don't think I look that much different. I could probably get away with it. I forgot about this. What do you roll up here? I don't get it. Enjoy the credit music. I guess I'll talk about Midnight Mass tomorrow. Oh, I forgot to talk about the new church. I can talk about that real quick. I went to a new church, and I think I'm gonna keep going there. I had another note I was gonna talk about, because he was talking about Abraham. So this is the first church that hasn't talked about gay people, thank God, and been like, oh, gay people are bad. Maybe they believe it, but they don't talk about it, and that's good, you know. Don't ask, don't tell, right? Don't ask me about how you feel about gay people. That's funny. That's my policy on... That's a good joke. I could make a tweet about that. If I had Twitter still. My policy on churches, on gay people, is don't ask, don't tell. I don't want to know how you feel about gay people. But it was nice. I was weird. It was very weird. I should talk about this in the context of anxiety, because it's kind of like my anxiety nightmare. I went by myself. I sat by myself. There was almost nobody there. There was like 15 people in the service. Like, I used to feel like, well, I like to get lost in the crowd, so like nobody's looking at me, and I could just be normal, and I don't have to be hyper aware of myself. And like, oh, I look weird, and they're gonna be looking at me. But what this church does is they have 2 services, and one of the services is like packed, and the other service is pretty unattended. They did that because of COVID, but now it's just kind of weird. But I went to the service, there was nobody there. That would have been a nightmare for me 2 years ago. An anxiety nightmare. To be by myself in a church, and like your first time there, everybody's gonna be like, oh, who are you, and where do you live, and they're gonna be talking to you. I didn't mind it. I guess because I am a little bit more comfortable with myself, and also I had time to recharge my batteries, like I mentioned on the first episode this week. So like I did have some energy, and like, okay, I got a decent job, and like I'm pretty interesting. Oh, I just moved here from New Jersey. That's interesting. I could talk about that. and I have so much practice here talking about it, so like I kind of have the words in my head. I might be able to think of something to say. So I'm not super anxious about that. And guess what? The guy greeted me at the door. He's like, "Oh, you're new here. Here, have a welcome thing." I was like, "Oh, you should meet this guy. His name is whatever. He's the youth guy." And the youth guy was like talking to me. He's like, "Oh, that's so cool. You're from New Jersey? That's cool." I'm not good at doing that thing, but at least I'm starting to get okay at doing the other thing. Like, I'm not good at being like, "Oh, wow, you're from New York? And like, what's it like up here? And you like to hike and go snowmobiling? That's crazy." I'm not good at doing that. But I'm finally starting to be okay with someone coming up to me and me being like, "Oh yeah, I just moved here and looking for a church. My parents mentioned you guys and I think I might start coming here. And I like Jesus, I guess." And they seem like good people. So next week I'm going to go to the service with more people and see what that's like. If it's more hopping and jumping and bopping and moving. I'm going to do this one. I'll do that tomorrow. And then I'll talk about Midnight Mass. Anything else about the church? Oh, well, I just had a memory of a couple years ago when the virus first started. I went to my parents' church for the first time, and I do remember being really nervous and sitting in the pew, and my parents kind of sat in like the front pews, so I was like nervous, and I remember it does seem so kind of foreign to me now, like I can't even describe it, but I was nervous for the pastor to look at me, and I was kind of like nervous to make eye contact with him, kind of like when I was in school. But when I was in school, I was nervous because I was worried the teacher would call on me. I don't know why I was nervous to be around the pastor, because he's not going to call on me. But I was nervous. I had anxiety, social anxiety, being in the pew and the pastor looking at me and just kind of keeping my head down the whole time. But when I went to this new church, I wasn't worried about that at all. I actually felt kind of weird, like I want him to look at me and I want him to see that I'm here, because I don't know. I don't know. It was weird. My brain is different than it used to be. Any new bumbles? Of course not. Of course not. Never. Nobody ever likes you. You're a gross idiot. Why would anybody ever like you? People really like horses up here. I guess horses are cool, but I'm scared of horses. They're so big. They're gonna kick me. I've never really seen a horse. Like, been close to one. Are they like dogs? Are they nice? I don't know. See you tomorrow. Bye.